UK's new Prime Minister coming out swinging, David Cameron, saying the financial problems that he inherits are far worse than expected, and he plans major cuts. Our overseas editor, Ashley Webster, joins us with the potential hit list. Ashley, how tough are they?
Well, Brian Dagan, David Cameron not really releasing the details yet, but we know it's going to have to be pretty severe. There's no doubt about it. When you overspend and you overborrow, there's only one outcome: a massive debt, or just worse, bankruptcy. Just ask the U.S. government. But now the UK is finding out how nasty the medicine will be to get its finances under control. British Prime Minister David Cameron says the UK is facing the biggest cuts in government spending since World War II. Britain's deficit rose to about $324 billion last fiscal year. That's close to 11% of GDP. Not that far behind Greece, is it? And the Brits, well, they don't get to retire early either. The UK government would have to pay $100 billion in interest alone on its debt over the next 5 years. That, by the way, more than the education, transportation and climate change budgets combined, and almost twice the annual revenues from taxes on company profits. Any way you look at it, it's ugly. So what do you do? Well, that isn't pretty. The UK already looking at cutting welfare programs and spending for civil servants. And you can bet the capital gains tax will go up, maybe as high as 50%, according to some observers. We'll find out. Workers who earn more than $216,000 a year will have the tax relief on their pension contributions reduced significantly. This on top of the 50% top rate of tax already introduced for those earning more than $200,000. All of this comes, of course, as the UK is trying to recover from a deep recession. So the nasty, difficult thing here is, how do you instill all of these budget measures while trying to allow your economy to grow? It's a question that many countries across the European continent and around the world and here in the US are having to face. And, of course, this is going to set up a lovely showdown with the public sector union leaders who have already said it wasn't our fault, it was the bank's fault. They should take a larger share of the pain because that's their fault for getting us into this situation. A la Greece, which, Brian, of course, you've seen firsthand. Whether we're going to see the riots and the picketing that we've seen elsewhere in Europe, maybe, but it's going to be ugly. 2 weeks from tomorrow, David Cameron of the UK will announce exactly what gets cut.
But people have said that the British people, and you, based on your accent, unless it's fake, Ashley,
from Iowa,
or from Iowa,
Des Moines,
that the Brits have a history of bootstrapping.
Yeah, they
and
do.
Are willing to cut, whether you're looking at in the 80s or even just what they suffered through during World War II in different
we went through it in the Thatcher years, in the late 70s and early 80s, where massive cuts were made. That's one thing that was said, because this is a coalition government between David Cameron, who's a Conservative, and Nick Clegg, who's a Liberal Democrat. They say it won't be like the Margaret Thatcher years where we're just going to slice and, you know, the fittest will survive. But we have a big social program network in the UK, just like they do across the rest of Europe, and there's going to have to be some cuts, although they say they will not touch socialized medicine. The National Health Service will survive.
Which is hurting also because obesity has become such a big problem in England, too. These socialized medicine services, a lot of people love to talk about in a positive way. They're not prepared to deal with the health crisis that is caused by other nations now getting heavier.
Yeah, and I was quite shocked to see that, having lived in the United States and then going back to England, which I think everyone walks more in England, they're fitter, forget it. They're just the same. It's an obesity that's a problem around the world, and it's putting pressure on the socialized medicine, certainly.
If you could fry it, eat it. That's the British way of life. And here,
well, I've lived in the South, too, and it holds true there.
I can say that. Ashley, thank you. Ashley Webster.
If it comes from a plant, eat it. If it's made in a plant, don't.
Very wise word.
You like that?
I love it.
I was free for you.